Joining us now to discuss all of this is political analyst Peter Mathews in Los Angeles. He's also a professor of political science at Cypress College. Thank you so much for being with us.
Good to be here. Thank you.
Well, in just a few hours, voters in Alabama will decide who they want as their senator, Democrat Doug Jones or Republican Roy Moore, a man accused of sexual misconduct and the sexual assault of a 14-year-old girl, allegations he denies. Now, it is a tough choice for the most Republican state in the country, but the polls show Moore with a narrow lead, except for a surprise Fox News poll that has Jones ahead by double digits. What do you make of that discrepancy, and how's this vote likely to play out, do you think?
It's going to be very close, obviously, but the reason the Fox poll is different is because they use a type of polling where all a random sample of voters are called, and it's direct polling. It includes cell phone voters. The other polls use an automatic system where voters are called by a machine, and so the responses of the voters will be different, especially depending on the sample. So I think the Fox poll may be quite, believe me, more accurate than you think. But it's still going to be very, very close. As you can see, there are forces pulling the voters in two different directions here, with someone like Doug Jones running, especially, and the accusations against Moore.
Right, indeed. And of course, the reason why this election has captured the nation's attention is because the Republican Party currently has a very slim majority in the Senate. But even some Republicans say they can't bring themselves to vote for Moore. Senator Richard Shelby is one of them. How significant is that? And if Moore does win this vote, what impact could that have on party unity?
Well, first of all, it's going to be very significant that someone like Senator Shelby would come out against Moore. He's a fellow Republican, and he's saying it's a matter of integrity and honesty and what Moore is accused of doing. So that's very important because a segment, it doesn't have to take many Republicans to switch over to Jones. Very few percent will throw the election the opposite direction. And don't forget that in many cases, people will vote for someone even though they're saying they vote for something else. They may actually go in the polling booth and vote for the other person based on their heartfelt feelings. And in this case, President Trump's, the allegations about Trump, which were brought forth by these 3 women today, and the 15 women that have accused him earlier, those allegations will play heavily on the voters' minds when they actually go to vote for Moore, whom Trump has supported 100% now.
Yeah, and I do want to talk about that because while all of this plays out in Alabama, we did see those 3 of about 14 or so women who accused the President of the United States of sexual misconduct. They appeared on television telling their stories and asking for accountability from the President. He has dismissed their claims in the past as false. And then on Monday, White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders doubled down on her argument that his 2016 election victory answered those groping allegations made during the campaign. How likely is it that the accusations of these women will gain any traction given what we've seen in Alabama and given what we've seen in the past? I mean, after all, the Access Hollywood tape came to light and he was voted in, wasn't he?
That's true. The Access Hollywood tape, we thought that might trip him up, but it didn't in that case. And keep in mind, though, that President Trump still did not win a majority of the popular vote. Most Americans voted, more of them voted for Hillary Clinton. About 3 million more actually did. So he won it by the Electoral College. And this time around, there's no Electoral College. It's the state election. And it could flip either way. And I do believe that these women coming out and holding a press conference just recently, and that was very important because it reminds people once again, it's only 5% or 3% of the Alabama voters are reminded once again about the sexual accusations of, or the alleged activities of these men, inappropriate activity. That is something that's very key and very important because it doesn't take very many to flip the election over. And it's raising this issue once again when powerful men have used their position, abused their position when it comes to women around them. And Moore is definitely part of that, it looks like, very much so.
Yeah, and we're watching that national reckoning. I do want to turn to another side to this story. The White House accusing the media of purposefully misleading Americans with some mistakes that have been made recently but corrected by various networks. How fair, though, is that accusation?
I think it's a political accusation, the worst meaning of the word political. It's very biased, and it's actually on the part of the president to accusing the media of being in that way when he has come across so many times and put out false information and misinformation. And it's true, the media actually has corrected themselves very clearly. They apologize for the mistakes. And mistakes are going to be made in any media. But media has to be emboldened to speak the truth, regardless of how it comes out, as long as they correct their mistakes. They cannot be tiptoeing around on eggshells, because then the truth will not come out. So I commend CNN, MSNBC, and other stations to speak the truth And when they make mistakes, they actually say they're wrong. And President Trump should accept that as part of being in a universe of a democracy with free media, which is so important to democracy. That's the way I see it.
Peter Mathews, thank you so much for joining us and bringing us your perspective and analysis to these issues. We appreciate it.
Thank you. My pleasure.